Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Easy Peasy Show brought to you by Sportasonic. You can listen to every episode of the Easy Peasy Show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or anywhere else you usually listen to your podcast on. Once again, thank you for tuning in. Now let's get into the episode. Welcome to the Easy Peasy Show. Today is Friday, November 3rd, finally November season, which means college basketball is right around the corner. NBA is still in full swing. Unfortunately, football's starting to get to the latter half of the seasons. It's getting a little scary out there, but hey, we're enjoying fall for a while. What it's worth. Louisiana's got cold weather finally. I know I'm thankful for that. Um, but yeah, let's get into it. We got some UFC this weekend. Like I said, we got football as always. We got some basketball, Formula One even this weekend, and yeah, it's a pretty busy weekend for sports. So let's dive into it. Peyton, I'll let you pick your poison. What you want to start with first?
You know me, you know what I'm gonna want to start with. College football, baby.
All right, let's move into it.
So I think I have about let me see, one, two, three, four. I got seven notable games. I'll try to run through them pretty quickly. Um, I have first off, I have Kansas State at Texas. I think Kansas State's a pretty solid team. I think they've lost some games that they definitely shouldn't have this year. But I think they have a chance against Texas. I don't think I think that win against Alabama. I mean, it was an impressive win. Don't get me wrong. Alabama's never an easy win, but I think it's a little overhyped at this point. Texas, a few weeks in a row now, they haven't had very great showings. Um, I mean, maybe they right the ship, but I expect them to have another poor showing and maybe get burnt by it this week. I'm not calling the upset, but I think the potential is absolutely there. Actually, you know what? I'll call the upset. I'll call the upset there. Um, K State upsets Texas in Austin. It would be a shock, and obviously I mean, it would pretty much diminish Texas's playoff hopes. But um, yeah, I'm gonna call it there. I'm gonna call my shot. Next game I have, I got. Oh, and by the way, part of the reason that I say that is because Quinn Ewers is out for Texas. Malik Murphy, if you missed it, is starting for Texas. So, um, backup quarterback. There's just a lot of things. A tough Kansas State team. A lot of things kind of go into that decision, and kind of go into why Texas might be on upset alert this weekend. Next game I have circled is A&M at Ole Miss, and I don't just circle this game because it's two good teams. I mean, Texas A&M is wildly inconsistent, um, and quite frankly, I don't think they're as good of a team as they probably should be. But um, yeah, I mean, look, they're a team that's absolutely capable of beating anybody in the country at any given time, um, when they put it all together. But how often do they put it all together? Not very often at all. So they lose a lot of games that they shouldn't, and they win a lot of games that they shouldn't. I still don't know. I don't know anything about A&M. Like I don't understand it. Like I think we talked about this at the beginning of the year. Um, I mean, how many years in a row is it that Texas A&M can't put it together? I think I called for them to do really well this year in the SEC, and I mean, for what it's worth, they're better than they were last year, which they didn't even make a bowl game last year. So take take that for what it's worth. But it's really important, especially as an LSU fan. This game is one that I'll definitely have my eyes on. LSU really needs A&M to win, get Ole Miss out of really. I think no, they're in second place in the SEC West. But LSU would leap them if they were to lose and were to win, which we'll get to that here in a minute. Um, so yeah, pretty important game. Next game, not necessarily that I think it's going to be a good game, but Notre Dame at Clemson. I think Notre Dame is going to walk all over Clemson. And the reason I have this game circled is, I mean, what I think that's going to put Clemson at 4-5 on the year. Um, yeah, they're 4-4 this year with losses to Duke, Florida State, Miami, and NC State, and they've looked really, really bad this year. I think Tom has I mean, taken over on Dabo. He doesn't recruit the portal like he should. He doesn't believe in NIL, and in today's day and age, as a coach, he's got to figure something out. He's got to put his feelings on NIL and the portal to the side because it ain't gonna work for him if he continues the way he is. He's doing it. So, um, for what it's worth, I do like Dabo. I think he's a pretty solid person. Um, but yeah, he's something's gonna have to change. So, yeah, Notre Dame is gonna walk in this one. Next game, Missouri at Georgia. If there's a team that's capable of beating Georgia this year in the SEC East, it's going to be Missouri. I don't think Tennessee has the firepower that they did last year, but I think Missouri does. So, yeah, Missouri is great offensively. I mean, Luther Burden, one of the best receivers in the country. Brady Cook having a really solid year at quarterback. And their defense is pretty good for a team. Their rush defense is pretty good, and they're playing a team that really likes to run the ball in Georgia. Um, Georgia likes to basically bully their opponents, run the ball down their throats, and just out physical eat other teams. So I think Missouri matches up pretty well with Georgia. Um, Being that it's at Georgia, I find it hard to believe that Missouri would walk in there and win. But like I said at the beginning of the year, Georgia is due a loss at some point. It wouldn't shock me if Missouri beat them this weekend. But I mean, how can you say that anybody's going to beat Georgia? Nobody's beaten them in 2.5 years, which is insane to think about.
Yeah.
I guess Alabama did beat them in the SEC championship in 2021, but then they came back and got revenge on Alabama. So I don't, I don't know. I feel like that kind of cancels each other out. So really, 2.5 years they've lost one game, and they got revenge in the national championship, or yeah, in the national championship in that game.
Right.
So I'm gonna stay with UGA in this one, but I think Missouri keeps it pretty close.
Hmm.
Next game, Oklahoma at Oklahoma State. If you follow college football, this game is always insane. Bedlam series. I mean, there are just bonkers games in this series for absolutely no reason whatsoever. So I expect this one to be no different. Oklahoma State's kind of been an agent of chaos this year so far. They win. I mean, they've exceeded expectations. Let me see. Let me pull their record real quick. They are number 22 in the country, 6-2 overall. They've beaten teams like Kansas State, Kansas, West Virginia, but they've lost to teams like South Alabama. They got crushed by South Alabama. So I don't even know, like, their season's weird. I mean, 6-2 is overall is a pretty solid record, but they got beat 33-7 by South Alabama.
Yeah, it's tough.
I mean, I think that kind of goes to show you how bad the Big Ten, Big 12 is this year as well. And the fact that Oklahoma and Texas are kind of squeaking by a lot of these teams really is a cause for concern for both of those teams in terms of big picture. And so for that reason, I'm going to put Oklahoma on upset alert again. I know they lost last weekend, but they lost to a Kansas team again who still Jalen Daniels is not playing. It was Jason Bean again, and they lost. I
Hmm.
mean, at what point do you say Oklahoma? I mean, that's what, 2 straight weeks that they've really struggled against a pretty poor UCF team and a Kansas team that without their starting quarterback is not nearly the same, nearly dynamic offensively, and they beat you. So I don't know. I'm gonna go. I'll go OK State in that one. Do you? How do you feel about that game?
No, I agree with you. Like I said, it's just the college football and especially these rivalry games.
Weird.
You just never know. You just never know. I mean, I mean, I'm sure every fan of whatever team it may be, they always have that one game. I'm sorry, that one team, that one game every season where it's close for no reason sometimes. And but I'm not saying this game shouldn't be close for no reason. I think these are actually a little bit more equally um like they're it's going to be a competitive game. These teams are more even than what people think. Like you said,
Without a doubt.
yeah, you mentioned the troubles and struggles for each team, but yeah, I think Oklahoma's are maybe a little bit more concerning than Oklahoma State going into Oklahoma State, and I feel like I read often that Oklahoma State is just a very tough place to play.
Yeah,
Um,
it is.
I hear it's an even like tougher place to play. Like when the sun sets, I know this game's at 2:30, so that shouldn't really be a concern. But like I think I saw some crazy stat out there that when like the sun sets in what is it, Boone Pickens? Boone I don't know, something crazy. There's some crazy stat where like if the sun sets, you have like no chance of winning there. Unless you're Oklahoma State. Um yeah, that's gonna be a very interesting game. Definitely I think that's like the key afternoon game you should watch.
Oh, without a doubt. Um, yeah, that's gonna be a banger. Next game I have circled is gonna be Washington at USC. Ooh, man, I think there's gonna be a lot of points scored in this one.
Hmm.
Let me look at the over under. Give me
Yeah.
1 second. I have to go
I'm
all the way back to the top on
I'm
this
gonna guess
page for some reason.
65.
65.
That's my guess.
Oh, okay. Where is it?
Actually,
Oh, there it is. Okay,
I'm used
I
to like
found it.
NFL where the over under is like 40 for like no matter who the teams are.
Oh my god,
Was it
dude!
like
What'd you say?
72?
What do you think? What did you say?
I said like 65.
76 and a half.
Yeah, that's insane.
Golly, dude. And you know what? Am I crazy to think that that's like a lock for the over?
I mean, no, not really, because
I
each team
mean,
only has to get 38 points. Just I like I said, it's technically under,
let me
but
look at last few weeks. USC's given up 49, 34, 48, 41, 41, 28, 10,
hmm,
14, 28. And oh god. Recently, they've given like the last 4 weeks, they've given up 41, no, 5 weeks. They've given up 41, 41, 48, 34, and 49 against some pretty bad offenses. And let me see, who was that? It was California, Utah, Arizona. Mm. Give up 48 to Notre Dame. Give up 41 to Colorado. That's respectable, I guess.
yeah.
And Washington has given up 33, 7, 33, 24, 32. Ooh. Mm, but Washington's kind of struggled the last few weeks, haven't they?
Mhm.
They've played some really poor teams as well. They played Stanford and didn't get out of there till, they won by 9. Stanford's real bad. They played Arizona State, and without a pick six, they probably would have lost that game. They won 15-7. They beat a really good Oregon team, 36-33. But you could really argue that they shouldn't have won that game. If Dan Lanning would have punted instead of going for it on fourth down, they probably would have lost that game. And then they squeaked by Arizona 31-24. So for a team that I thought through 4 weeks was probably the best team in the country, there's a reason they came in at number 5 in the college football playoff rankings. They've really had some poor showings lately, and it sucks because I really like Michael Penix, and really I really like their team, but when they don't play up to their standard, they look pretty rough.
Mhm.
So, but then going back, if you want your offense to get on track, the perfect team to play is USC, who's now 7-2, and really they probably should have lost to California this past weekend. That would have been 3 straight L's for them, and it's not been pretty for Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams has been. It's time to start a dialogue on Caleb
Mhm.
Williams. Um, yeah, he balls out against subpar competition, but when he plays a defense with a pulse, he goes missing. He's on the side of a milk jug. So, yeah, it's time to start a. I think Drake May is quarterback one, even though he hasn't exactly played well lately either. Um, I saw something that said Michael Pratt was going to try to transfer this year instead of enter a quarterback loaded draft, and I'm like, where are the quarterbacks at?
Yeah,
That's
no.
your top 2 quarterbacks, Caleb Williams and Drake May, and
Yeah, that's like the tier A right there. Then yeah, tier B is the rest of them.
I would argue that's tier S, but they're not S.
Oh, I guess yes. If you want to do yes, like include the letter S.
Yeah, by this year, like in terms of this year, I should say.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, they're not. They're like tier B in most years.
Right.
So I don't see where I don't know. I don't see where this is a quarterback loaded class. Um, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just doesn't seem like it to me. So my last game that I had circled though is, of course, LSU at Alabama. Oh man, I'm either gonna have a great weekend or my weekend's gonna suck. So, yeah. Uh, Playing at Alabama is really scary for me. Bama's defense is elite. Saban is gonna have those DBs coached up well against LSU's receivers. Man, I'm nervous about this game as an LSU fan. I think we can score, but the problem is they're gonna score on us too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's gonna be. I think it just depends on how this game pans out. Uh, if it's a shootout, I like LSU in it. If it's a defensive slugfest, I like Alabama in it. Of course, I don't know. I'll go. I had Alabama finishing number one in the West, so I'll double down on that. I think Alabama wins the game, sadly. But we'll see. They've had their own struggles. I don't know if anybody out there follows Hater Muse on Twitter and for like the basketball, but my Hater Muse tweet, I guess you could say, would be Alabama's O line versus LSU's D line. It's going to be the battle of ass. So interested to see that.
Yeah, I think it is definitely going to be an interesting game, like you said, and you mentioned, um, that Alabama is going to score in LSU. As we know, that isn't because Alabama has a high-powered offense. It's Alabama's offense is actually quite atrocious to what you're used to seeing. Um,
Milrow throws
LSU's
a good deep ball though.
yeah,
If there's one thing that I would like about Milrow, it'd be his deep ball.
yeah, but he may be the worst quarterback Alabama's had in the past decade.
I mean,
In the past 10 years,
it's
I should
true.
say.
No, it's absolutely true. But I mean, to be fair to him, I guess that's a pretty elite crowd.
Hmm. Absolutely, but yeah, you're used to Alabama being this perennial powerhouse on both sides of the ball, right? Where there's usually not one side of the ball that's like, how do I put this,
More
more,
dominant than the
yeah,
other.
where you're like, oh yeah, where you can easily say this season that LSU is an offensive powerhouse. But you usually don't really say things like that about Alabama. But obviously this year they are a defensive powerhouse. I think you look at their stats across the board, and they got to. I feel like they got to be at least top 10 in everything, probably a little bit higher than that. At least all the major stats. Yeah, obviously I think we see it time and time again in college. LSU's offense will score on Alabama's defense. Alabama's offense, as porous as it may be, will score on LSU's defense because it is atrocious. They're getting a little bit better, sure, but are they
But
going
they
to be able
haven't
to
played
stop?
anybody with a pulse.
Yeah, I was supposed to say, are they going to be able to stop an Alabama offense? I don't know. I think LSU's played more high-powered offenses than Alabama's. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like they showed up against those offenses. Um, yeah, I don't know really how to put this. I think the spread is like -3, and I think in college football, the way these sports books do it, they kind of they give 3 points to the home side, especially depending on the setting. So
Yep.
I think really those 3 points actually accounts for Bama's home field advantage. So I think this game is really even. That's my point I'm trying to get at is that if you take away the home field advantage, this is a neutral game. I think it's a pick 'em, but
Yeah, I
Alabama's got
agree.
home field advantage, and it's probably gonna, especially if it's late in the game and it comes down to LSU having to score, and they haven't scored like on every other drive like they usually do, or like 2/3 of the drives, I should say. And the crowd's like getting into it. Um, I'm not sure LSU's offense is going to be able to, outlast the Alabama crowd and the Alabama defense. So yeah, give me Alabama here. I think it's going to be a close game, very entertaining game on probably on both sides of the ball for both teams. I think both teams are going to shine. Both teams are going to have their low points. Like you said, high-powered offense going against a high-powered defense, and a not so good offense going up against a not so good defense. So there's going to be a lot of variance in this game. I think whatever people are expecting, you can kind of put that to the side and just if you're not a fan of either of these teams, then just enjoy the game for what it is.
Yeah, I mean, and for what it's worth, I do think that typically in college football, the team with the higher powered offense tends to win, especially those big games. I mean, it feels like in the playoffs, you got to score at least 40 points to win those games nowadays. instead of like 21, like Alabama did to LSU in the BCS championship in
Mm-hmm.
2011. Um, yeah, that's just modern football nowadays. And I mean, obviously, defense is a lot harder to play than offense. But one thing I'm really interested in seeing, obviously, Nick Saban is a defensive back wizard. Um, I mean, that's his forte is defensive backs. If y'all didn't know that, um, come out from the rock you're living under. But I'm really, really interested to see how they handle Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., Chris Hilton, maybe Kyron Lacey. I mean, LSU really has a stacked wide receivers core. Um, Man, and then Kool-Aid McKinstry versus Malik Neighbors, which I'm assuming he's gonna follow Neighbors for the most part in the game. Obviously he's probably not gonna line up on him every single snap, especially because Neighbors lines up in the slot a lot. But I mean, LSU is definitely gonna get their mismatches with Neighbors and Thomas. But um, man, I'm gonna be really, really, really thrilled to see that matchup between Neighbors and Kool-Aid. I can't believe that just came out
I,
of my mouth.
I know. I know. Had to think about that for a second. I was like, oh, okay.
But yeah, so give me Bama here, but I really do think it could go possibly any way, either way, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's gonna be a very good game. Very entertaining.
They're
So
gonna surprise us. LSU's gonna surprise us all and come out and shut Bama out.
it's gonna be a 49-0 type game for LSU.
Mm.
Mm. I wonder what
No,
the
that
over
ain't
under
gonna
is
happen.
for this game. I don't know what it is.
Let me look because that I am interested to see that. Obviously,
Yeah,
I
I'm,
mean, we
I'm
spent the
curious to
most time
see
talking
what.
about this one. I do think this is the game of the week. I think
Mhm.
College Game Day is also going there, so obviously they believe it too. Wow. What do you think the over under is? Give me your best guess.
60.
61 and a half.
If it was the Price is Right, I would have won.
You're right. Man, for an Alabama LSU game, that 61 and a half. I mean, that goes to show you the faith that they have in LSU's offense.
Yeah, and the lack of faith in LSU's defense.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's a given. I don't think anybody has faith in LSU's defense. I don't think LSU's defense has faith in LSU's defense. I know their defensive
Hmm.
coordinator doesn't.
I mean, imagine if LSU had like a top 25 defense. This game
Oh
is
my
like
God.
so different. This game is just turned on its
LSU's
head.
probably number one.
Probably. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'm not. I say that. I mean, I know I'm an LSU fan, but honestly, if they even have a decent defense, they get a few stops against Florida State, they win that game probably.
Hmm.
Um, and then against Ole Miss, it's probably not even a game.
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh well. Womp womp.
Yeah, that's my eye about the Ole Miss game.
Mm. Yeah. Well. Is that Oh, I want to ask you. This will be a good way to wrap up college football. The college football playoff rankings dropped. Obviously, I don't have the list in front of me here, but I'm sure off the top of your head, you probably had some heads. I know I had some head scratching reactions to some of these rankings.
Yeah,
Any of that pop out to you that you want to discuss?
yeah. The first one being Ohio State at one.
Mm,
I, I think Ohio State probably has the best resume, but the eye test tells you they're not the best team in the country. Matter of fact, I don't think Michigan should be behind Georgia, although they have a horrible resume. So I guess I can understand that more than Ohio State at one. Um, Now I'm not usually one to complain about early season rankings. I say early season, but it's not technically early season, but I mean for what it's worth, I mean these don't exactly matter at the moment. There's still a lot of football to be played. But the other head scratcher I have is excuse me. Ole Miss at 10. I don't think Ole Miss is the 10th best team in the country. Missouri at 12 over LSU, who beat Missouri at Missouri. I'm just dumbfounded by that one. I, I don't I don't know. I mean, they must have hit their crack pipes hard that night.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, if only there was a way to determine what team's better on the field. So if there was a way to do that, I mean, maybe we wouldn't be in this situation. But I guess the on field results don't matter. Um, I think Air Force at 25 is a little critical. I think Air Force is a very good team, and then Tulane at 24 is also. I don't like that either. I think Tulane's better than the number 24 team in the country. I think Air Force is better than the number 25 team in the country. I mean, Tulane's only loss was against Ole Miss, and they played without their starting quarterback, and for what it's worth, they were winning pretty much the whole game. So
Mm-hmm.
um, they went toe to toe with your number 10 team in the country, and that's their only loss. Yet you have them at 24. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know about that one, man. I'd really love to be able to sit in on one of these college football playoff committee meetings, but sadly I'm a peon and nobody knows who I am, so I can't. But I'd really love to know their way of thinking about some of these rankings.
Yeah, because you hear people throw around, and you've said it too, the word resume, right? But it's like that. It's like it seems like that almost only applies to like the top two or three teams in terms of figuring them out, and then after that, it's just I definitely wouldn't say a popularity contest, but you almost have to think there's some kind of it ain't all resume that's causing these teams to line up where they are. I don't know how to put it. I'm not, NCAA is such a weird organization that it doesn't surprise me that some teams are ranked higher than others. Maybe to give them a little bit more hype. Maybe to make the Georgia Missouri game is a lot more interesting. Missouri's ranked 12, and Georgia isn't number one, and that gives like a whole different meaning to this game because Missouri's probably got like hype train going on. Georgia's looking for some redemption to prove that they're number one, so now the game's a whole lot more interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
and look, make no mistake, the NCAA absolutely does that. I mean, last year the Alabama LSU game, um, I think LSU came in ranked like number 6, if I'm not mistaken, with 2 losses. I don't think they were the number 6 team in the country, but being that they were playing Alabama, they wanted to hype the game up a little bit. So they made LSU 6. I don't think they intended on LSU beating Alabama last year and kind of throwing a wrench in their rankings. And I think honestly that's probably why I think they're kind of punishing LSU this year for losing more games. I mean, obviously they said record matters this year for the first time ever, I guess. Um, I don't know, man. I don't know. So if y'all are wondering, the AP poll has LSU at 13 and Missouri at 14. Um, whereas the college football playoff has Missouri at 12 and LSU at 14. I'm one that I don't really like the fact that if a if a team wins a game against another team and there's maybe one or two rankings separating them, the team who won on the field should probably be ahead of them. Now, if there's five, six, seven rankings between the two teams, that's probably a different story. I, I don't know. I'm not on the committee, man, but some of these are just kind of puzzling to me.
yeah, no, and I agree with you. You covered the head scratchers that I had too. Um, I guess for what it's worth, like you say, record matters. So I guess that means LSU's the best two-loss team in the nation, which I guess is good. Um, Air Force is the worst undefeated team in the rankings. I guess I don't know if
Yeah.
is there any
Well,
other
is
undefeated teams? That's what I
James
said. Yeah.
Madison?
Well, do they count this
I mean, they're
year?
undefeated. They
Yeah.
won't make the postseason, which is absolutely criminal. But
Right. I guess that's why I'm asking. Do they even bother ranking them in the playoff rankings if there's no shot that they can that it really matters? It kind of does matter. I think their
I
ranking.
think it does. I think it does to them. I mean, it helps with recruiting and among other things. I think it's only fair to rank them.
I agree, but I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. for record to matter, yes, Air Force at 25, and yes, James Madison not ranked at all is kind of suspect. Yeah,
I
I
guess
don't know. I don't know that.
I guess kind of what you're hinting at, and it's my biggest complaint is you pick and choose what how you weight your rankings
Hmm.
for depending on the team. So somebody like Michigan, okay, Michigan has played a bunch of nobodies, but then you're gonna say record matters and resume matters, putting Ohio State above Michigan, who has not looked as good as Michigan, right?
Right.
But then you're gonna say, oh well, Washington's 8-0, they have a better win than any win Michigan has. But then you're going to say, oh, the eye test matters. So which one is it? Like, why does Ohio State get number one, even though their eye test hasn't exactly been great? Because they have the resume. But Washington has a better resume than Michigan, the same record. But now you're going to say, oh, well, Michigan's look better than them.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't get
it's
it. I don't get
yeah.
that.
Me neither. Me neither. It's very weird, and like you said, it'd be nice to like understand what goes on in these meetings. But no, we'll just continue questioning it, and it's funny that essentially, the answer for this is to expand the playoffs. And I
Yeah,
mean, that's what they're going with.
and that's absolutely going to happen next year. And honestly, I for one am pretty excited about the expanded playoffs. I know a lot of people don't. I, I'm not a big fan of the 4 team playoff, but I think I'm gonna be a bigger fan of the 12 team playoff. And I know that probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I think with the transfer portal and NIL and all this kind of stuff, I think college football has gotten a lot more paired. Like in terms of parity, I didn't know how to word that, I guess, but um, like teams that aren't as good are getting better
Hmm.
just because let's say you're a 5 star, you go to Alabama, Georgia, something like that. You don't see the field, and you're like, well, I could probably see the field somewhere else, closer to home. Let me go there, and then you get a few of those guys on a team. Like let's use Tulane for example. Um, you get a few of those guys, and now Tulane's a top 25 team competing with Power Five schools. So I think that's great for the game of football, college football, I should say. And I think it's great for parity. And I think that's going to show in the 12-team playoff.
Yeah, I agree. And I think they're taking notes. Obviously, they can't do a 64 team tournament like college basketball can.
Who says
But
no?
I mean, let's be honest. Bigger brackets are a lot more fun. You can root for the quote unquote Cinderellas. I mean, obviously, it'd be it'd be fun to watch Air Force, pit up against Georgia or something.
Yeah,
Um,
we're gonna be watching 4 string quarterbacks by the time the championship rolls around.
right.
Everybody's gonna be dead.
Hmm. Oh well. But yeah, I'm excited for that as well, and I definitely didn't mean to bring that up in a sense that like, oh, I'm not looking forward to it, but yes, it's almost as if the committee that creates these rankings, like I said, just wants to continue to keep it a secret, and also at the same time make everyone happy. So it's just like, okay, we'll include more people in the final playoffs, and like everyone's like, okay,
Yeah, but like I don't know, man. It's just weird. I think it's people call it the college football invitational, and at first I was like, nah, it's definitely the best 4 teams. But at this point, I kind of agree, man. Like they just want to keep it the big markets in the playoffs, and I don't really like that. I
yeah,
think you should see some of the smaller market teams or the teams that are more up and coming play. I don't want to see Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, Bama in the playoffs, in Oklahoma and Clemson every single year. I want to see some more teams, and I think I mean we've mentioned I've said it a few times. I think we're seeing that, and I like that.
yeah, absolutely, I agree with you there.
But
Hmm.
but we can move on to NFL if you like. So we spent a pretty good time on college football.
Yeah, but it's interesting to talk about college football. Like I said, it's kind of I hate to say it's wrapping up because I mean it's not, but I mean we're getting to that point in the season where
The nitty
um
gritty time, and
yeah,
you're
I was about
seeing
to
a
say
lot
yeah,
of
things
teams kind of
mhm,
get eliminated from the
yeah,
playoffs.
right. Yeah, things like really start to matter right now. So
Yeah.
yes, I think obviously more in-depth conversations will be had as these weeks continue to go by leading up to the college football playoffs. But yeah, anyways, we can move on to NFL. which I think we're in like the midpoint of that, or maybe a little past it. No, not quite. Week 9 NFL.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we're past the halfway point now in the NFL too. Um, kind of a so far the standings. I don't have the standings in front of me, but I know the AFC is kind of like at a deadlock right now. Like all division leaders are all 6-2. Kansas City isn't a clear front runner anymore in the AFC. You got Kansas City, the Dolphins, the Jaguars, and the Ravens all leading
Wait,
their
wait, wait, hold on,
division.
hold on, hold on. Who was that second team you said?
Kansas City, the Dolphins,
The third team,
Miami,
yeah.
um, and the Jaguars,
I was told they were
Jacksonville
gonna. They were.
Jaguars.
I was a joke for
Yeah, I mean,
saying they were gonna be my 3 seed.
I don't know who they've played this year. I really
Nah,
couldn't tell you. I
nobody
couldn't tell you
good.
one team.
Not really anybody good, but my point still stands.
Anyways, man, I wish my team got to play the Falcons. Anyways, um,
Your team's good enough as it is, dude.
who just by the way, benched Desmond Ritter and are now starting Heineke. So,
I'm so upset.
anyways,
Right in time to play the Saints.
yeah, and so an interesting game going on in Germany. So 8:30 Central Start Time AM for the Miami and Kansas City game, which is going to be a good one to wake up to on Sunday morning. If you're awake that early, I should definitely suggest you watch that one. Um, Man, I don't know. It could turn into a shootout. I mean, both defenses are sus. Both offenses. No, Miami offense is really good. Kansas City just has Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey. So I mean, um, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting game.
But the Dolphins don't have
International.
a defense.
Yeah, but I mean, at least they got Jalen Ramsey back. I think he had like a pick six in his first game back, which is pretty impressive. Anyways,
Yeah, he's gonna be a big
um,
boost.
yeah, I don't have a lean either way in this game. Actually, I think it's going to be a very, very good game. Obviously, Miami's going to have its moments. Kansas City, or I'm sorry, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey will have their moments.
And the
Um,
Swifties.
yes, all the international Swift fans or Taylor Swift fans are going to be there. They're going to be flocking the stadium. So yeah, interesting game. Like I said, I don't have a lean either way. I don't even know what the spread for that game is. I can't imagine it's too big. Um, Either way, but
Let me
um,
pull it up.
very interesting. Tua's kind of have a really good start to the season. Like I said, as long as the injury doesn't knock him out or anything, no pun
Mm,
intended. I,
mm.
I meant knock him out of like playing, not literally. Like I'm sorry. Anyways, um, I really didn't mean to come across like that.
Phrasing.
Yes, I know. Uh,
Kansas City's favored by 1.5, by the way.
that sounds about right. Um, Yeah, it's gonna be a good game, man. I mean, these are two, like I said, two of the top teams in the AFC going up against each other on a neutral site. So I mean, you can't ask for much more, and a special start time. Like so you get to start off your Sunday morning with a little NFL. We get a little pregame action going for the noon slate. Yeah. Speaking of the noon slate, we can move into some of those games unless you want to talk about the Dolphins and Chiefs game, Peyton. Or you want to move
No,
on?
I think he covered it.
All right, yeah, fair enough. So interesting game. I think obviously we're Ravens fans. I'll just quickly cover them, not to sound biased. But Ravens and Seahawks. Seahawks are at Ravens. Um, I think Ravens are like a 6-point favorite. Battle of the defenses here. I think it may come down to which offense is going to have a little bit more willpower. Um, I do have to. I'm going to lean. Obviously, I'm a little biased. So I'm just going to say I lean the Ravens here. I think it's going to be a closer game than what people expect, though. I know people think the Ravens are this powerhouse, but they they often find themselves a victim of their own. I don't know how to put this stupidity.
Idiocy.
Yes. And Seahawks can be the same can be said there. They're having a little drama in the backfield right now. I know Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet are actually like starting to split the reps directly in half now almost. I think actually Charbonnet had more snaps than Kenneth Walker the last time they played.
Hmm.
That's just in the name of the running back game this year though, or at least in the NFL now. So, but it's good to see Charbonnet getting some looks, and obviously he's definitely their passing back. But yeah, should be an interesting game. Should be a good noon game. That may be the noon game to watch because it's really all the other ones are kind of sicko games. Like you get the Bears and the Saints. I think the Saints will
Hmm.
probably are going to demolish the Bears. Saints are kind of picking up the stride. Obviously, I don't think the Saints are no powerhouse, but the Bears just suck, and they're coming into the dome. And like I said, the Saints offense is starting to click a little bit, which is exactly what they needed. Saints have the easiest schedule out of the whole NFL remaining this year. So you have to imagine they start picking up steam now. And like I said, beating the Bears is a good way to do it. So yeah, give me the Saints here, at home in the dome against the Bears.
Yeah,
It
I
just
ain't watching that
kind
game.
of suck. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The rest of these games are kind of sick. I'll just quickly go Cardinals at Browns. Obviously I lean Browns there, even with Deshaun Watson still trying to figure out where the nearest massage parlor is. Buccaneers at Texans. I want to lean Texans there. Like I said, the Texans are a young team. They're looking really good. Looking really good. I know the Buccaneers are surprising a lot of people too, but I lean Houston here at home. Commanders, Patriots, and Rams and Packers. That finishes out the noon games. But afternoon game, here we got a couple of interesting ones. Psych, just really one interesting one. And that's the Cowboys and Eagles. Um, yeah, battle for the top of the NFC. Eagles are a lot of people's number one team in the NFL right now. They're gonna have a tough test in the Cowboys, but they have the home field advantage here. I want to lean the Eagles right now. They seem not unstoppable, but I mean they're pretty. They're a really good team. They're Man, that offense is something special. AJ Brown having just an insane season. Jalen Hurts, that offense is looking good. That offensive line is just unstoppable. Tush push broken. They're starting to run different plays out of the tush push. I'm sure you saw that too, where they're running like the
Hmm.
trick plays, like the tosses, and the passes. So yeah, interesting stuff that the Eagles got going on. And not that I don't believe in the Cowboys, but I just believe in the Eagles a little bit more here at home. So yeah, give me Eagles to win that one. And then return of the cardiac arrest king, Damar Hamlin. Bills and Bengals Sunday night game, 7:20. Um, yeah, some two high powered teams here going up against each other. Like I said, Bengals are starting to pick up a little bit of steam now too. The Bills, obviously, they're the Bills. They're kind of weird team this season, but they're still the Buffalo Bills. They're no slouches. So that's going to be a good game. I'll lean the Bengals here at home. I expect T. Higgins to get like 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, something crazy. It's just going to happen. That's just the way things happen in the NFL. But that's about it for the NFL games. I don't know if any of those that I mentioned pique your interest, Peyton, that you want to talk about a little bit more, or if you want to move on.
Yeah,
Um,
so I'll talk pretty briefly about two games. Obviously, as an honorary Ravens fan this season, um, I'm also gonna side with them. I think they win that game. They've really put together a pretty good year this year. So um, yeah, and then the Bills and Bengals. Obviously, Joe Burrow looks healthy. He looked healthy last weekend. And a healthy Joe Burrow. It's almost crazy that an injury can derail you as much as it did him. But hey, he's back. So, um, and I mean, look, they played the 49ers who were kind of struggling right now. But I might be the only one that thinks this. But I think that the panic for San Francisco 49ers fans is a little premature. I still think they're a great team. I still think they have a good defense. They probably should have gotten a cornerback um in trade at the trade deadline instead of two defensive linemen that they didn't need. But hey, I guess at the end of the day, if you get a better defensive line, your corners don't need to hold up as long. And I still think they're going to be a good team. They'll make the appropriate changes that they need to. Um, Kyle Shanahan's an excellent coach, and the Niners they are a good team. I mean, they have great offensive weapons. They're stacked on defense. So I think they'll right the ship. I think a lot of people kind of freaking out about them right now. I think that's a little premature. I think it's a little silly that people are freaking out about the 49ers right now.
yeah, I have to agree with you. I'm not a big Brock Purdy believer. I know a lot of people are, but I guess I think that crowd is kind of split 50-50 whether or not you believe in him. I could see it either way, but I just do think he's a product of a good system at the end of the day. Um, Brock Purdy, I mean, he gets it done, but he's also got 20 All Stars surrounding him when there's only 10 people allowed on his side of the ball. I don't know how the NFL let that happen, but here we are. Um, but it's just kind of weird. It's like if one of those players goes down, he turns into the Killian Hayes of the NFL.
Mm.
I really don't get it. I really don't get it. Brock Purdy, questionable. Man, if the 49ers had a competent quarterback, oh, dude. Oh.
For what it's worth, I think he's better than Jimmy G, who's also
Oh,
starting in the NFL.
you. Boy, Jimmy G. Now, his career's done. It's done. He got benched for who did he get benched for? Aiden
Aiden
O'Connell.
O'Connell.
Yeah.
Mm.
I
I
mean, Jimmy
forgot
G's
about that. That's
awful.
pretty bad. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, the Raiders cleaning house. I mean, not really that crazy. I know Raiders fans rejoiced, at least the ones I was able to keep up with.
Yeah, they got
But
rid of Henry Ruggs.
he did that to himself. Good for him.
Mm. I don't know if you've looked at the Pelican score lately, but you might not want to.
I don't know. I checked it about a minute ago. I saw they're up like 10.
Yeah, you might not want to look at it.
No, I mean if they're having a
They're down.
breakdown, mm, that doesn't
Kind of
surprise
still.
me.
It is an 11-point game though.
Oh, still interesting.
9-point
Uh,
game.
mm, meltdown. But
Two
yeah,
and 2.5 minutes left.
anyways, Raiders cleaning house. You know, they get rid of their offensive coordinator and their head coach. Um, make some moves there. Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, both letting everyone know how unhappy they are. Don't blame either of them. So yeah, it's gonna. I think that's actually gonna be. It's gonna be interesting to watch this Raiders team the rest of the season. I didn't really believe in them to begin with, but for what it's worth, I think they're taking steps in the right direction. They're recognizing the problems and actually, trying to take care of them. So good for them. I think it's a step in the right direction. It's gonna be a lengthy process to kind of get this team back on its feet, but like I said, steps in the right direction. That's all that matters.
Yep, I agree.
But anything else you wanted to discuss in the NFL? We can move on.
Um, no, I don't think so. I think the trade deadline was a little. I mean, it was
Boring.
a little underwhelming.
Snooze
Yeah,
fest.
no huge trades. I mean, obviously, Montez Sweat going to the Bears and Chase Young going to the 49ers, which, look, I mean, that could potentially be a massive move for the Niners, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think it was like a lateral move. I think for what it's worth, I think it was a move. I think they improved their defense. Don't get me wrong, but Chase Young isn't no longer has a hype train. He's just kind of, I don't know, Chase Young. I guess I don't know. I don't know how to say it. Like you said, it's not a groundbreaking move, and but I think the rich get richer in the Niners, so good
Yeah,
for
but I
them.
mean, pairing him with somebody like Nick Bosa and that elite D line that the Niners have, dude. I mean, he's gonna work with Nick Bosa a lot, and Bosa's gonna show him a thing or two.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The Niners are still a threat. Like I said, regardless of like you mentioned, I think this complete meltdown, nuclear meltdown that fans are having of the Niners is unwarranted. I think they're gonna turn this thing around here pretty soon. But real quickly, I will say this about the Bears: it did kind of surprise me to see that they're buyers at the deadline. I figured they'd be kind of
Sellers.
yeah. So that was interesting. It was an interesting move to get Sweat, especially considering last year, maybe the season before, they traded Roquan Smith to the Ravens.
Yeah,
So it was interesting. I guess maybe they missed him and then figured just let's get Sweat. I don't know.
maybe,
Interesting.
but I kind of it leads me to believe that they do believe in Justin Fields.
It's all fun and games till they get Drake May because they get like the fifth or sixth pick.
I think they get number 1 and 3, don't they?
Do they?
Let me see. Bears draft picks 2023. No,
They get
2024. My bad.
Williams and May, and they'll let them have at it.
They get the number 1 pick. Let me see. They get round 1 from Carolina too.
Hmm. Interesting.
So let's see mock draft.
Just go to
Let's see.
Tankathon.
So they're thinking that Oh no, I'm sorry. They have their own pick and the Panthers pick. So
Right.
this mock draft has them going 2 and 3.
Yeah. So which Tankathon has them going 2 and 3. That's just current standings. So
Yeah, getting May and Marvin Harrison Jr.
that'd be that'd
So
be
they get the
nice.
best quarterback in the draft and the best receiver
Best
or
wide
second
receiver.
best
Yeah, that's
receiver,
great. That's crazy.
second best receiver. Oh, dude. Oh no. They have the Patriots picking Bo Nix at 5. That's disgusting. Malik Neighbors going 7 to the Colts.
That's interesting. Bo Nix ain't even in the top 10 on this list.
Yeah, that's
Bo
crazy.
Bo Nix is where is he? He's pick 41.
Oh no, dude. No, dude. Guess who they have the Saints picking at 16?
Who?
Kool-Aid.
Hmm.
Here, good
This
pick. I mean, they don't
I
need it, but
don't know what mock draft you looking at, but they crazy thinking Kool-Aid's gonna fall down that far.
CBS.
Yeah, they crazy. They have the
Like,
Saints getting Keon Coleman. Oh no, Tankathon.
that's
I trust
disgusting.
Tankathon a little bit more.
That's disgusting.
Right after Malik
Ooh, they
Neighbors.
have the Bills getting Cameron Kinchins. Oh, man, that'd be.
But anyways, yeah, we can move on to the NBA here because we got some interesting standings going on. Grizzlies still winless, last place in the West, 0-5. Um, losing 3 at home, losing 3 away. Looking a little lost without John Morant. Shocker. And then also at the bottom of the East, the Miami Heat. Shocker. They lose some depth pieces, and now here they are again. Wondering what's going on. At least Tyler Hero's having some good games though. I guess hooray! I know Heat fans are crazy about Tyler Harris, so they'll take their wins, I guess, however they can get them.
Yep. Thank God. Prayed on this downfall.
I'm assuming you're talking about the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, the Grizzlies are lost without John Morant.
Hopefully
But
they're
hey,
lost with him too.
yeah, that'd be awesome. I mean, that'd be funny if they missed the playoffs. I don't think they will though. But yeah, interesting. Celtics and Mavericks are the only undefeated teams left. Mavericks is a little bit surprising to me. Celtics not so much. Um, Yeah, I don't know. NBA, like I said, we're kind of only about like 4 or 5 games into the season. Some teams have 6 games, and things are shaping up. I guess a little bit kind of how people expected. I know the Giannis and Dame combo isn't working out as well as people thought it would. But shocker, you trade away Drew Holiday, and all of a sudden you become one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. So I think
Yeah.
that matters. And now look at the Celtics, one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. Funny how that works.
Oh, yeah, I know. But for what it's worth, I do think that Dame and Giannis will kind of get it together. At the end of the day, they made a pretty late trade, so he hasn't been with the Bucks for very long.
Yeah, oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm sure though, they still got to figure out a way to work together. I mean, at the end of the day, just run pick and rolls with them. I mean, come on, it can't be that hard. Just run pick and rolls with them too, till the cows come home.
Yeah,
But who cares if they each have 40 points? I mean, they're scoring. You get points on the board. That's what you want. It's all you want.
exactly.
Let's see. I don't have much else to say about the NBA. Like I said, kind of early in the season to be really talking in depth about it, but it's just fun to keep up with still. So, anything you wanted to mention about the NBA?
Nope, I think we covered it all.
Oh, all right. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about in particular? I don't have anything on the mind. I know we got UFC this weekend. Unfortunately, I didn't really do my fair share of research.
Nor did
Um,
I. I was pretty bowed up this week.
yeah, this was unfortunate that neither of us could really cover it, but should be some good fights this Saturday. I still recommend that you go watch it. I know we usually have some pretty in depth predictions about the fighters. I'm sorry about the fights and the fighters. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going to have that this time around. Main event should be interesting. Derek Lewis fighting, so he's always alive for a knockout there, but he's going up against Almeida. Very good submission. I mean, he's good all around. He's a good heavyweight all around. Interesting to see the heavyweight division kind of take a turn, leading more into these hybrid heavyweights, if you will. And I expect Ahmed is going to get it done probably in the first or second round. Barring a Derek Lewis flying knee. I have to imagine. I have to imagine Ahmed is going to get it done, probably by submission. I know people like to say not make fun of Derek Lewis, but make fun of the fact that he just stands up when on the ground. But his opponent this go around is a little bit different than the C plus wrestlers he's gone up against in the past.
Yeah, the heavyweight division's starting to evolve.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. It's fun. It's fun to see. As much as I enjoy knockouts, it is fun to see um, the power of the heavyweights be not completely negated, but to be lessened. Just because of an equalizer. Getting the fight to the ground where you can't really utilize your power that much.
Yep.
So
I mean,
fun stuff. But
oh, for sure.
anything else you wanted to cover? I know the World Series came to an end. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll cover
Um,
that real quick.
yeah.
Obviously, Rangers did end up winning the World Series. Kind of a disappointing World Series. I didn't really watch it. I didn't. I don't think a whole lot of people did. I mean, it's one of the lowest watched World Series in the last 10 years. So, and that happens when you have the D-backs and the Rangers playing. I mean, the lesser, I don't want to say lesser known team in Texas, but the lesser liked team in Texas. I mean, a lot of people are Houston Astros fans. And then the Diamondbacks just kind of a small market, and a lot of young players that people don't necessarily know yet. I mean, some big name guys like Corbin Carroll, Kettle Marte, Alec Thomas, but still not bona fide superstars just yet that I think they could turn into. But um, yeah, obviously the Rangers got it done. I think the winner. I think if the Phillies win the NLCS, I think it's a different story. I think the Phillies probably beat the Rangers, but it baseball is a weird sport sometimes, and the Diamondbacks got it done and ultimately fell short. But what's pretty interesting, the last overall seed in the NBA made the NBA Finals, the Heat, and they couldn't get it done. The last
Mhm.
overall seed in the NHL playoffs made it all the way to the finals. They couldn't get it done. And the last overall seed in the MLB playoffs made it all the way to the World Series and couldn't get it done. So I don't know. That's kind of interesting. I wish one of them could have gotten it done. That would have been pretty cool.
Yeah. Womp womp.
Yeah, exactly.
But hey, I think that's about it. We covered a lot this episode, and we apologize for missing earlier this week. I actually have some sporting events I attend here in New Orleans for the Pelicans. Um, it. I don't know. Sometimes I regret it because the Pelicans, are just the Pelicans. But yeah. Anyways, so that's what that was about. So, um, really wasn't too eventful of a weekend, anyways, for what it's worth. But we should be able to catch up next week, though. Today's our 30th episode, by the way, Peyton. So I mean, I don't think that's really like an anniversary or anything, but still pretty impressive. We've done this 30 times now.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so a lot of fun. But you have anything else you want to say, Peyton, or you want to wrap it up?
No, I think that's it.
All right.
Thank
Well,
y'all
then
for
that's
watching.
it. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for tuning in, and definitely not watching because this is a podcast, Peyton. But
Oh God, no! I've been doing so well too.
I know. But bring it back at this point. Just make it a running thing. Um but yeah, anyways, thank you all for listening. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it as always. I'm Zach. This is Peyton. And sorry, I got a tweet, had to check in on it. And yeah, thank you for listening to the Easy Peasy Show. Peace.
Yep. Peace.